The rain hasn't stopped in days, maybe weeks. It falls like punishment from a sky that seems to have forgotten how to be kind. The forest is soaked, the ground a sponge of cold rot and mud. Smoke, once familiar, is gone from the air, and with it warmth, with it fire. The tribe huddles in silence beneath a makeshift shelter of mammoth hide and bent branches, pressed shoulder to shoulder for warmth. Their skin is slick with rain, their breath shallow, and their bellies loud. Fires once crackled at the heart of their camp, lighting faces and drying meat. Now nothing but darkness and damp. They've tried everything. Wet twigs hiss and die. Bark crumbles in soggy hands. Even their best dry kindling, carefully stored in a hollowed tree, has begun to mold. The fire that had once come from their hands now lives only in their memory. And it's not just the cold. It's what the cold invites. In the distance, something howls long and low. A dire wolf, maybe two. Closer than last night. No fire. No light. Just prey, huddled in the dark. Before we plunge any deeper into this soggy, smoke-free survival situation, let me ask for one small thing. So before you enjoy the story, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments below. Let's see where you're watching from. Now, turn up the volume, and together let's begin today's journey of exploration. A child sneezes. A mother tightens the hide over her shoulders. The leader of the group, an older man with scars tracing his face like a topographic map, stares toward the ridge. His eyes are not focused on the trees or the rain. He's watching the sky. Lightning dances across the clouds in the distance. A pulse of white, followed by a deep, growling roar. The storm is moving east. Fast, but not fast enough. Behind him, someone mutters the word they're all thinking, fire. There is one chance left. They rise as a group and begin the long, slippery hike toward the ridge. It's a gamble. If the lightning strikes something dry, if they might be able to steal flame, borrow it, like a thief praying the gods are asleep. It's not a strategy. It's desperation wearing shoes made of hope. Hours pass. The rain slows, but the wind picks up. Trees sway like giants arguing. They climb higher, teeth chattering, hands gripping whatever stones and roots will hold. Then crack, flash, then smoke, then flame. It's far, but not unreachable. A single, twisted pine now burns at the edge of a clearing, struck dead by the gods themselves. The top glows red, the base flickers, and between it all, smoke rises like a thread pulling upward into the storm's chest. They run, not recklessly, but fast. Fast enough to know the flame will not wait. Fire never does. By the time they arrive, the tree is collapsing inward, its heart split open. Flames lick the fallen bark, dancing like snakes with hot breath. The tribe spreads out, gathering moss, bark, anything dry. Ha! Nothing is dry. They resort to tearing strips from their own clothes, bundles of fur scraped with flint to create soft, flammable piles. One woman reaches in too fast. A snap, a hiss. She pulls back, yelping. The edge of her wrist is scorched. Not badly, but enough to remind them. Fire may be life, but it does not love them back. Finally, they catch it. A small tongue of flame, cupped inside a shell of dry fungus and bark, carried like a newborn child back toward the camp. Every step is agony. The wind threatens. The rain tries to return. But they shield it, protect it, whisper to it. By nightfall, the fire lives again in the center of their shelter. It is small, cautious, like a wolf not yet sure whether to trust the hand that feeds it. But it burns. They dry their hands, cook soaked meat until it hisses and steams. They laugh, not loudly, but enough to remind themselves that their lungs still work. That warmth is not a dream, and for the first time in days, no one dies. Here's your historically accurate fact. Early humans likely began using fire by capturing natural wildfires, most often from lightning strikes, and sustaining them as long as possible before discovering how to create it themselves. In fact, some archaeological sites show signs of fire use before fire creation. And your strange but true detail. Some tribes were so devoted to their fire source that they carried embers for days, tucked in animal horns, buried in ash to keep them smoldering. These fire carriers were trusted figures, part survivalist, part shaman, part human Zippo lighter. Back at camp, the leader places a charred branch upright in the center of their circle. A new ritual, maybe, or a marker, or a warning to the wind. The fire crackles. It dances, and in its glow they are human again. The fire is alive, but only just. It sits in the center of the camp like a skittish animal, beautiful, dangerous, needy. Every moment it burns is a small miracle. But miracles don't last forever. The tribe quickly learns that keeping fire is a full-time job. It has to be fed, guarded, talked to. Someone must always be awake, even at night, adding fuel and shielding it from wind and rain. And not just any fuel. Wet wood makes smoke but no flame. Bark that's too thin burns in a flash. One wrong move and the fire dies, or worse, runs wild. Let's say this plainly. Fire is not their pet. It's their reluctant roommate with serious attitude problems. The woman who got burned at the lightning tree has taken to watching it constantly. She barely sleeps, poking it with twigs, whispering to it under her breath like it might understand. Maybe it does. Or maybe sleep deprivation has made her the tribe's first arson therapist. Either way, she becomes the first keeper. The others follow her lead. They build a crude fire pit with stones scavenged from the riverbank, dig out a trench to funnel rainwater away, and start collecting every dry scrap of material they can find. They even pull apart old sleeping mats to salvage fibers and moss. The fire rewards them warmth, cooked food, dry clothes. But it punishes sloppiness. One night, the wind changes. A gust sweeps through the camp and snatches a flaming branch right off the edge. It tumbles into a pile of fur scraps. Within seconds, the camp is filled with screams. Everyone scrambles, some throwing snow, others stomping the ground like dancers in a very unfunny slapstick show. They save the camp, but barely. One of the shelters is lost, blackened and curling with smoke. The fire, now calm again, crackles smugly in its pit. The tribe stares at it like it's a wild animal they invited inside. And maybe that's exactly what it is. Still, they don't give up. They invent methods to carry it. Long branches wrapped with wet moss, ends burning slowly, like prehistoric torches. Clumps of ember buried in ash and carried in thick shells. And, in a move no health department would approve, one man tries carrying a live coal in his mouth, tucked behind his teeth. That experiment lasts about 7 seconds and ends with swearing and snow eating. Fun Ice Age fact. Snow is nature's emergency ice pack, but eventually they find what works. An old tusk, hollowed and sealed at one end, becomes the tribe's most sacred object. Inside it, a glowing ember, packed in charcoal and moss. It burns low, safe from wind and water. It can be carried over mountains, through rain, across rivers. They call it heartstone. It is passed from hand to hand with reverence. Even the children understand. If the heartstone dies, they go back to darkness. Here's your historically accurate fact. Before humans could make fire from scratch, they preserved embers for as long as possible. Some groups became nomadic firekeepers, ensuring their communities never had to face a cold night without flame. The ability to transport fire came before the ability to create it. And your strange but true detail. In some ancient burial sites, archaeologists have found small containers with charcoal and scorch marks, suggesting that people were buried with embers, possibly to carry fire into the afterlife. Imagine being so attached to your campfire that you request it as your grave buddy. The woman who first whispered to the flames is now regarded with a mix of awe and nervousness. Children bring her bits of bark as offerings. The leader consults her before moving camp. She doesn't smile much, but when she does, it flickers across her face like fire. Fire has become more than survival. It's status. The group that controls the flame controls the mood, the meals, the night. But it's not all reverence. One evening, two young men argue over the fire's use. One wants to light extra torches to explore deeper into the cave system nearby. The other says it's wasteful. Words become shoves. The firekeeper steps between them, literally, and one of the men knocks a branch into the heart of the flames. Sparks fly. The tusk nearly tips. Everything freezes. In a world of predators, hunger, and bitter cold, threatening the fire is the one act everyone understands as unforgivable. The branch is pulled away. Apologies are made. But something has changed. The fire isn't just theirs anymore. It is them. It holds their stories, their food, their safety. And now it holds their tension too. They begin to experiment further, roasting different plants to see which are edible, drying clay near the edge of the flame until it hardens, though one bowl explodes, nearly taking out a few eyebrows. Trial and error becomes a lifestyle. Fire makes them braver, but also more reckless. And yet, every night, when the stars peek through the trees and the wolves howl from a safe distance, the fire glows like a heartbeat in the center of the camp. Constant, comforting, complicated. They sing now, sometimes, low songs made up on the spot, usually involving mammoth meat and some unfortunate event from the day. One verse involves someone falling into the ash pit. The chorus is just laughter. The fire flickers. The tribe watches. And tomorrow they'll carry it again. The storm season is gone. The skies have cleared. The trees drip slowly in the warming light of a hesitant spring. The fire still burns. But the tribe is beginning to understand a hard truth. Borrowed fire is fragile. It flickers. It fades. Even the heartstone can die. And when it does, there's no reset button. No second chance. Nature doesn't leave lightning bolts on demand. The sky doesn't take requests, and so the whispers begin. There must be a way to make fire, not beg for it. To summon it, control it, own it. No more chasing storms. No more nursing embers like frightened parents. The idea is simple. The execution, absolutely maddening. It starts with observation. They remember how sparks flew when stones were struck. Not just any stones, certain ones. Flint most of the time. sharp, angry. When bashed together, sometimes they make a spark. Usually they just hurt your fingers, but a spark is a beginning. One young boy becomes obsessed. He spends hours clinking rocks together like some prehistoric drummer with poor rhythm. He nearly puts his eye out on day 3. He keeps going. They call him Little Thunder. Half in mockery, half in hope. His breakthrough is accidental. He strikes flint against a bit of iron-rich stone, and this time, instead of a tiny spark that fades, something catches. A flake of dry moss twitches. A curl of smoke rises. It doesn't last. But it happened. He yells so loud the hunters think a bear has wandered into camp. The tribe gathers. He demonstrates, now with exaggerated precision. Flint. Steel like stone. Tinder. The spark comes again. A breath. A curl of flame. The fire is made. Let's pause for your historically accurate fact. The earliest evidence of fire-making using flint and iron pyrite comes from Neanderthal and early Homo sapiens sites. Before friction methods were widespread, percussion fire-making, striking specific stones together, was one of the first controlled techniques. And now for your strange but true detail. Some ancient fire-starting kits were worn as necklaces, like amulets. Not just because they were useful, but because fire was believed to be spirit-born, and those who could summon it were seen as spiritual intermediaries, half magician, half survivalist. Back at camp, a new obsession begins. Flint becomes precious. It's collected, traded, hidden. One woman hoards the best pieces in a woven pouch she guards like treasure. The children fight over who gets to practice fire-making. It's not unlike watching modern kids argue over video game controllers, except these controllers might actually burn your face. Of course, friction enters the picture too. Someone notices that rubbing sticks together creates heat. First, just curiosity. Then singed fingertips. Eventually, one older man, half-blind and fully stubborn, spends 3 days spinning a dry stick into a hollowed log. By the time he succeeds, his palms are raw, but a thin wisp of smoke curls from the base. It's fire. No spark this time, just heat and persistence. Now they have options. Stone striking for quick flames. Bow drills for dry days. Hand drills for purists. The tribe suddenly splits into something like a debate club. Team Flint thinks they're scientists. Team Friction claims their way is purer. Team Just Steal Fire Again stands quietly in the back. Even with these new skills, firemaking is never guaranteed. Some days it takes 5 minutes. Others, an hour. And one awful morning, nothing works at all. That night, they go to bed cold and angry, muttering about curses and bad moss. But the truth is clear. They've crossed a threshold. They're not just using fire anymore. They're owning it. With that comes confidence. They burn animal fat to make smoky torches that keep cave walls lit for deeper exploration. They cook every meat they find, discovering, for instance, that badger tastes better charred and that fish caught under the ice turns to mush if left in too long. One child throws up dramatically. It becomes a campfire story. They even start using fire to change materials. Bones become brittle when heated. Stones explode, sometimes alarmingly, but also break into usable flakes. Someone drops a lump of red clay too close to the edge of the flames and discovers, to everyone's delight, that it hardens. Clay becomes cups. Cups become rituals. Rituals become culture. Here's a light joke for you. One hunter claims he made the first prehistoric mug. He insists it makes the fermented berry drink taste better. He names it Thirst Rock. The name doesn't catch on, but the idea does. The fire becomes a forge, not for metal yet, but for ideas, for power, for identity. They assign roles. Some people specialize in making fire. Others tend it. Some shape the flame into something useful, others into something sacred. The woman who once watched the flame whispering now teaches the youngest how to build proper tinder nests. Her students are fierce. One of them, barely old enough to speak full sentences, can coax a flame faster than most adults. He's called Smoke Baby. No one dares laugh when he's around. Here's your second light joke. One day, a boy challenges Smoke Baby to a race. Loser has to eat raw fish eyes. Let's just say the boy now tells time in smoke rings. But beyond the jokes and the heat, something deeper is happening. They've turned chaos into control. Fire used to be a god they feared. Now it's a god they negotiate with. Each new blaze is still greeted with awe but not panic. It is no longer a gift from the sky. It is the result of human effort, human hands, human will. And that is a bigger revolution than the mammoth spear or the stone axe. Because in mastering fire, they don't just light the world around them. They light the path forward. There is a glow now, one that never truly leaves the camp. Even in sleep, even in silence, the fire burns. It is fed like a living thing, guarded like a treasure, and feared with the quiet reverence usually reserved for storms and predators. But with every new comfort comes a new danger. The fire is too useful, too powerful. Cooks, it dries, it warms, and now it divides. Tensions begin with a simple argument. Who controls the fire? One side claims the fire belongs to everyone. It's for survival. Another insists that those who can make it should lead its use. After all, you don't let someone who can't hunt dictate how to divide the meat. The firekeeper, the woman who once cradled stolen embers in charred bark, isn't interested in politics. She just wants to protect the flame. But others speak louder now. The man who found the flint combination demands a larger portion of food. The old man with blistered palms from the hand drill wants first say on where torches go. Even Smoke Baby is getting smug. He insists on being called Fire Son now. It doesn't stick. It all boils over one morning when a young girl tries to light her own fire, away from the central flame. Not for rebellion, for practice. But the flame catches fast. The wind shifts. Within moments, the side of the shelter is burning. Screams erupt. Water is thrown. Hides are pulled down. Someone yells for the firekeeper. Someone else blames the child. A third tries to stomp the flames and ends up with a badly burned foot. The fire is tamed. Again. Barely. But something has changed. From that day on, rules are made. No private fires. No lone fire starting without a watcher. No children near the flint unless supervised. And, most importantly, the fire must always remain in the center of the camp. A fire ring is built larger this time. Stones, bones, and earth. Around it, sacred space. No meat cut there. No waste tossed. Only tools, rituals, and warmth. And from that ring, something else begins to grow. Identity. The fire becomes a mark of culture. Tribes who use it with care are seen as advanced. Those who let it roam wild? Dangerous. Primitive. There are rumors of a group to the west who set trees ablaze just to scare prey. The tribe refers to them as ash hands. Even their stories evolve. Fire is no longer just something they stole or summoned. Now, it's something that tests them. One child claims fire speaks to him in the cracks and pops of the flame. Another insists it has moods, calm when fed, angry when ignored. Is it superstition? Maybe. But also, maybe not, because the fire does seem to respond. It leaps when they laugh. It dims when they fight. It flares at the start of a storm like it knows what's coming. One night, as thunder rumbles low on the horizon, the firekeeper sits alone. She watches the flame lean eastward, toward the storm. She says nothing, just feeds it slowly, like she's sharing a secret. Here's your historically accurate fact. Fire wasn't just a tool. It became the center of social life. Archaeological evidence shows that early humans arranged their living spaces around fire pits, and some ancient campsites reveal that fire use became highly organized, with assigned areas for cooking, toolmaking, and rituals. And your strange but true detail. In some early sites, scientists discovered that groups used specific scents in their fires, burning herbs, bark, and even animal dung, not just for fuel, but for spiritual or social effects. Yes, you heard that right. Prehistoric incense. Over time, the tribe's rituals around fire grow more elaborate. They mark the first fire of each season with a ceremony. They dance. Awkwardly, yes, but with genuine energy. Songs are sung in rhythms that match the crackle and pop of flame. Symbols are carved into the ash. One elder even insists fire dreams can predict the success of a hunt. First, everyone laughs, until his dream about the bison herd passing north proves accurate. After that, no one laughs. At least not out loud. The children are taught to approach fire with ceremony. Flint and kindling are treated like sacred objects. The act of making fire becomes a rite of passage. When a boy or girl can summon flame from scratch, they are given a new name. A name with meaning. A name tied to power. But power cuts both ways. One night, two teenage boys, eager to prove themselves, build a fire outside the ring. Not for survival. Not for the tribe. Just to see if they can. They succeed. Briefly, until the wind turns. The flame catches a patch of dry grass and spreads. Not toward the camp, but into the woods. Panic. Runners. Stamps of feet and shouts through the trees. They manage to stop it barely, at the edge of the clearing. The boys are punished, not with beatings or exile, but something far worse. They are forbidden from touching fire for a full moon cycle. In a world where warmth is survival, and flame is identity, that's like erasing a part of who you are. The tribe is quiet for days. Then, slowly, the rhythm returns. The central fire crackles once more. Meals are cooked. Shadows dance across the tents. Smoke curls into the sky in soft gray ribbons. And in the glow, they know this truth. They have not just mastered fire. They have built a relationship with it. One built on trust, fear, respect, and the understanding that fire may have begun as nature's gift, but it became humanity's mirror. Because fire, like us, is capable of creation and capable of destruction. The fire is passed down now. Not just flame, but knowledge, technique, story, ritual. The act of fire making, once a desperate gamble against the elements, has become something almost sacred. And with every generation, the flame becomes a little less wild and a little more human. In the center of the camp, a child kneels. Her hands are small but steady. Before her, the bow drill. A curved stick, twine twisted tight around a smooth wooden spindle. A carved fireboard beneath it. Beside her, a bundle of dry moss and bark, shaped like a tiny nest. Her breath is shallow. The air holds still. This is her test. Around her, the tribe watches in silence. Not just parents and elders, but cousins, friends, even rivals. One boy holds his breath so long he turns red. An elder places a hand gently on his chest, reminding him to breathe. The child presses the drill into its socket. She moves the bow back and forth. Once, twice, a dozen times. The wood hisses. Smoke curls, then glow. The coal is born. The moss nest drinks it like water. With a breath, gentle, coaxing, like a mother calling a baby to open its eyes. The ember flares. Fire. The tribe exhales. The girl doesn't smile. She just cups her hands and carries the flame to the central pit, placing it on a bed of waiting kindling. The fire catches, grows, lives, and with it she changes. She is no longer a child. She is a keeper. It is time to move. The seasons shift. The forest, once full of green abundance, now turns gold and red. Game migrates. Water flows in different directions. The tribe must follow. Their homes are mobile. Their feet know the paths. Their fire must come too, but not the flames. They die in the wind. So they prepare the ember. This time, the heartstone is not a tusk, but a carefully shaped vessel of clay, fired until hard and lined with ash. Inside, a smoldering coal, fed with moss and charcoal, sealed with a wooden lid. The firekeeper, the girl now wearing beads on her wrists, places the vessel in a cradle of woven hide and furs. She wears it like armor. They walk for days, over ridges and rivers, through thickets and stone passes. Snow teases the edges of the sky, and wind nips at their faces. At night, the firekeeper opens the vessel, feeds the coal, keeps it breathing. She hums to it softly, an echo of a lullaby her grandmother once sang, the same one whispered beside every ember that ever crossed the wild. Others gather close, some to warm their hands, others to listen, not to the song, to the fire. This language is crackles and sighs, the stories written in smoke. Here's your historically accurate fact. As early humans migrated, they didn't always create new fires at each camp. They carried embers across vast distances. Preserving flame became a central part of mobile survival culture. And those who could maintain embers over long treks were considered essential members of the group. And your strange but true detail. Some tribes created fire codes, markings on stones or trees near old campsites that showed how the fire had behaved there. Was it strong? Smoky? Did it last through rain? These were primitive Yelp reviews for flame. 5 stars if it didn't burn down the camp. The journey continues. One night, a storm arrives, quiet but cold. The firekeeper shelters the ember close to her chest, wrapped in hides. She curls around it, back to the wind, refusing sleep. When dawn breaks, her lips are blue, but the ember still glows. She is given a new name that day. One whispered, not shouted. It means, she who carried sunrise. The tribe finds new land, a clearing beside a river, where mammoth tracks cut through soft mud, and fish flash silver in the shallows. They unpack, rebuild, and when the firekeeper opens her clay vessel, they gather close, holding breath, like the first time. The coal is set in a fresh nest. The flame rises, smoke dances upward, and so begins the fire of the new camp. Around it, life takes shape again. Tools sharpened, skins stretched and dried, food cooked, songs sung. The children chase shadows. The elders watch the fire and remember a time before they had this power. Before they could bend nature's fiercest force into a circle of stone and ash. It's easy to forget how far they've come. Once, fire was a miracle they stole from lightning. Then, it was a burden they carried in tusks and bark. Now it is heritage. The firekeeper sits beside the flames, tending it with practiced grace. A small child climbs into her lap, curious, wide-eyed. She places the child's hand gently over hers, guides it toward the kindling, shows them how to feed the flame, how to read the smoke, how to listen for that low hum that means all is well. And somewhere nearby, an old man with a crooked back tells a story. There was a time when fire was wild. It struck trees, chased us. We feared it. We ran. But someone turned back, caught it, carried it, spoke to it. And now look what we've made of it. The fire cracks as if agreeing, and across the ages it speaks. I am no longer a storm. I am a torch, a hearth, a promise. And in that light, humans stand taller. Not gods, not beasts, but firewalkers, carriers of the ember, makers of dawn.